of February is Black History Month, but the emancipation and celebration of the Black race is unending. Today, I invite you to watch this beautiful video produced by the United Baptist Church, Sault Ste. Marie, supported by the Evangelical Ministerium of Sault Ste. Marie. Enjoy!
I'd like to take this opportunity to honor our friends today. I'm so thankful for some things. I'm thankful that God created a world filled with diversity. I'm thankful that regardless of the color of our skin, we stand together. You know, personally, I'm so thankful that God has placed people in my life from different cultures, different color, that have not only shaped my core values, have actually influenced my faith. I'd like to share with you some scripture and share really my prayer today. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 14 says, He, Jesus, is our peace, who has made us one, breaking down every wall. And so here's my prayer. My prayer is that there would never be walls set up due to the color of our skin or our cultural practices, that we would always stand together, unified, committed to each other. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 says, above all else, love each other deeply, for love covers a multitude of sins. I pray that the love that we have for each other would blind us to our differences, that we would see the true value of each other and our God-given potential. Thank you for this opportunity to share today, and God bless you.
Well, hi there. My name is Pastor Rob Quinlan. This is my wife, Stacy, and we're honored today to celebrate with you in Black History Month. And I'm just going to read you a scripture this morning I believe is fitting for where we're at today in celebrating with you. And it's found in Psalm 133, verse 1. And this is what it says. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron. And now I just want to share this with you. You know that word, how good and pleasant, it actually means great delight. And so I just want to say this. It is a great delight to celebrate with you this month, and to celebrate no matter what our color of our skin is, no matter what race, what nationality we are, we celebrate with you today, and we believe in you, and we're so thankful to be a part of History Month.
Amen. We love you. We rejoice and celebrate you.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Gabriel, and with me tonight are my two amazing friends. And I'm going to bring in Charlene and Christopher.
Hey.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are around the world. Yeah. And we're going to have a great celebration tonight, the Black History Month. Okay, so let's see how that goes.
And I was also told you need lower.
Don't mess up your beard.
Right. Even though I see one.
Okay, so this is how we're going to celebrate Black History Month. Okay, that's good.
And we needed food because we are in the
Sioux. Do we do this in Africa? I'm not sure. Okay.
Food is so important if you're in the Sioux. We have homemade salsa.
Is this African food or?
Couldn't come up with African food. That's not my specialty. And if you're in the Sioux, cake is important.
Okay, fantastic. And you know what, Chris and Charlene, speaking of celebration, what are the things we have lined up today?
Got a whole bunch of stuff.
Music.
Got some fashion. Yep. Got some culture.
Got some dance.
And some stories from people, which will be really interesting to hear.
Lots of inspiration.
And on top of all of it, we've got more food.
So last year was when we started this Black History Month celebration, the Afro-Caribbean Praise Night. It was so amazing last year. We had, people coming from all around the Sault Ste. Marie, and we had a great time. You know what? Let's take a look at what that looked like.
Let's do that.
amazing.
It was amazing.
Lots of praise
Oh, there was.
and worship.
So many
dances.
countries were represented. I think
Fantastic.
14, 15
It
countries.
was
yeah?
quite a number. Like, you know what? This is a really great, opportunity for people to come together.
It was.
And just share the joy and the love. Man, so much more. Oh, wait a minute. He's still in the group.
He is. That's one of the songs from last year, isn't it?
Yeah. Na double double, na double double, everything na double double, oh. Na double double, promotion double double, oh. Na double double. Speaking of diversity and communities coming together, I would like to introduce a very special lady, Nicole Rahman.
The year was 1968. A young girl walked out of immigration, got her bags, and headed outside. She was greeted by an unknown gentleman who later turned out to be the love of her life. This young Indo-Trinbagonian woman landed in Toronto Pearson at the age of 24, afraid but determined to make her parents proud. She was about to do something that no one in her family had done before. She came to Canada to continue her studies in nursing. Little did she know at that time that she would be creating a pathway for generations to follow. This lady of whom I speak is my first cousin. At 77, she still lives in Brampton, but was the first member of my extended family to have migrated from Trinidad to Canada. She now holds a PhD in naturopathic and homeopathic medicine. She has been married for 50 years and has 2 children, one of whom is employed by the Government of Canada and the other who owns her own business. During the 10 years following her arrival into Canada, the remainder of my paternal relatives followed suit. All 12 of them left Trinidad, one by one. They have all since been here, working and building themselves and their families 2 generations later. They have contributed in whatever ways they could to building their communities and building Canada. Immigration to and from all over the world is not new to us. Immigration to Canada from the Caribbean is not a new story. It is reported that Caribbean immigration to Canada began as early as the late 1700s, with a significant number of persons arriving during the 1960s to 70s. People have left the familiarity of their homes and communities since the beginning of time for one reason or the other. Many in search of better opportunities, many setting out to achieve their full potential. Black History Month celebrates the lives and accomplishments of persons who have contributed to making this country the great nation that it is today. The diversity that is embodied in the cultural fabric of Canada stems from the contributions of persons from all over the world, our beautiful Caribbean people included. Just like my cousin, many have come to this great country unaware of what was ahead of them, but courageous and determined to create the life they wanted. Today, 53 years after this young girl landed in Toronto Pearson, I am here attempting to accomplish the same feat of a generational exodus.
Beyond measure, we've done such great things and continue to do much more. My Trinidad and Tobago, whoa, whoa, my Trinidad and Tobago.
She was such a brave woman.
Seriously.
I can't imagine moving countries, like not just hopping islands, but moving to Canada.
Of all places.
At
Wait,
24.
but let's look at it this way. You're not just moving, leaving family behind. You're actually going into a cold place, another culture,
Oh.
Totally
another
different culture.
food. Like the totally everything is different.
Everything is different. She had so brave, such determination to get her schooling done. I'm so impressed.
Wow.
That was a really great
That's
story.
that's really great. Brave. That's really great. Awesome. Wow. So wait a minute. What do we have next, Chris?
We actually have a few other people who have offered their talents graciously to this celebration as well. And the first we're going to hear from is Tenny. Tenny Rabba.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can while I can when I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night. That's why I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling me to enter? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my early in the morning, before the sun begins to rise, we're gonna start moving towards a separating line. Wading through muddy water, you know I got a made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. You hear freedom calling me to enter. Gonna keep on moving And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I tried. Sure as the wind of the stars. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. And you hear freedom calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand
powerful song. Eh? Thank you,
Yes.
Tenny, for sharing that with us. I don't know if all of you recognize that, but that's actually from the movie Harriet, about Harriet Tubman. I think, Charlene, you read the book Uncle Tom's Cabin when you were a kid,
Uncle
right?
Tom's Cabin. It was in my house, and I read that book, and I was fascinated by Harriet Tubman's story and her bringing people up through the Underground Railroad and its connection to Southern Ontario. Great little novel, and it made a huge impression on me about Harriet Tubman.
She was a super important figure, eh, in terms of freeing people from slavery and that sort of thing.
I hear about 700 or plus.
The numbers incredible.
Like in hundreds, like 700 or more. Something like that.
People,
amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing that also fascinated me about her, she lived a long life. Like she was over, like over 80 or over 90.
Like
I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, consider that, all that she went through. Right?
Exactly, with all that she's been through. That's fantastic.
Full life.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's for sure.
You know, speaking of moving around the world, I think we have another guest.
Oh, that's right. Is it Marlene?
Marlene.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And Marlene is going to be introducing to us Apostle Sunstar. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
See it.
Hi, my name is Marlene Henry, and I'm living here in the Sault since 7 years ago. I'm a member of the Finnish Pentecostal Church, and I'm so happy to be a part of the Black History Month celebration. A little bit about my journey is I came here to the Sault as what you call a transfer student to Algoma University, and I just absolutely love Sault Ste. Marie, so I decided to move here. I am married with 2 daughters and 3 beautiful grandkids, and I'm what you call a destiny helper. I'm also an ordained minister, and I believe in community capacity building can only be done through holistic interaction. So once again, I'm so happy to be a part of this awesome celebration, and we're going to just have fun, fellowship, and coming together. Hello again. I am so excited to be able to announce our next guest that's coming up. His name is Sunstar Peterson, Apostle, that's his title. He's an artist, author, and entrepreneur.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody in Sault Ste. Marie, Northern Ontario, and around the world. God bless you. I am Sunstar, and you are a success achievement-oriented being. You've been created in the image of an awesome, almighty God. I count it a tremendous honor to have been invited to be a part of the Black History Month celebrations going on in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. As I have told my good brother whom I've just met, Gabriel Araba, I have been totally fascinated to know that there is an African diaspora community growing in the area of Sault Ste. Marie, made up of Africans from various parts of Africa as well as Caribbean folk. When I heard this, I was totally fascinated, because as a young man in the arts and entertainment world, I passed through Sault Ste. Marie and a lot of those northern territories when I was about 17 years old, actually. And at that time, I never saw one Black person, not one person of African descent. So to know that, how the world is growing and how, cultures and various races and nations of people are moving out and interacting with each other, I see the hand of God's divine purpose in all of this. So again, I am thankful for the opportunity to have been invited. And of course, this is what I will share with you today is going to be more of an introduction than anything. I was born in the island of Barbados, and my mother was from St. Lucia, which became a French colony back in the days, of European colonization of the quote unquote New World. And so the Caribbean is just really an amazing place, because it's been impacted by so many different cultures. From the Europeans, of course, we have French, English, Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, across the Caribbean. And then, of course, in that part of the diaspora that was more of a forced migration when the transatlantic slavery began to happen, way back 500 years ago, it impacted the Caribbean in so many different ways. For example, music, like it's such an eclectic mix of music in the Caribbean. And as a young boy growing up there, all of those different sounds really helped to shape my own paradigm where music and creativity is concerned, because part of what I do is very much musical, very much artistic, and so on. But then, of course, now there's the food. Like, to me, the food coming out of the Caribbean is probably one of the most unique cuisines anywhere. And I'm not just saying that simply because, I am originally a Caribbean man. I'm not getting paid for advertising Caribbean food. But it's so interesting. And again, that's because of the impact of so many different cultures. I forgot the Indians, by the way, the Indians of East India that came in, and, we became called the West Indies by the European. So there's so much that has gone into that mix and has really created the type of flavor in the culture that is diverse. It is unique even from island to island. Of course, we have a lot of similarities and, common things, because so much of that came from the predominant culture of the Africans who were brought originally to be slave labor. But I believe that God, in the midst of it, I don't think that God was the one responsible for the slave trade, but in that, and I'll share something with you in a moment that will cause this to make a whole lot more sense. But in it, I believe God said, you know what, just like when Joseph was sold by his brothers into Egypt, but they didn't know that God had a purpose way beyond what they could see. And that purpose was that one day, Joseph, this young man who was thrown into a pit, rejected by all of his brothers, and then ultimately sold as a slave because they came upon the decision, well, let's not kill him because we don't want to have his blood on our hands before God going down through our generations. So let's just sell him and tell his father that he died, an animal killed him, whatever. And their intent was so full of hatred and murder that they didn't even, at that time, they weren't even thinking about how it would break Jacob's heart. It's funny because today in our world, it would almost seem to me that even African people, some that live on the continent, with all of my trips and travels through Africa, and I was just telling Pastor Gabriel that I actually spent the last 7.5 years in Kenya, because I'm now married to a Kenyan woman. I spent 7.5 years there, and it shocked me to realize that some, even on the continent, almost would think that Egypt is in the Middle East somewhere and not North Africa, the way that the media presents all of this. So this is a vast subject, a subject that would take so much more time than we have today to really do it justice. But what I'm going to seek to do is to give a little bit of an introduction to an experience, or through an experience that I have had personally. I came from Barbados at age 16 to join my parents in Toronto, Canada in 1972. So the mathematicians just figured out my age. Okay. Yes. So I came to Toronto, and it's interesting that as a young boy, I did not realize the extent to which my mind was locked in a colonial vice grip. And I would come to find out that colonization is not merely about, living within the parameters of a particular geographical region that was colonized by obviously a stronger nation or a stronger people of greater economic power or military might or whatever the case may be. But colonization is actually something that takes a hold of the mind. so that even when you go beyond the parameters of that geographical region, doesn't matter where you go, you still think with a colonial mentality because your mind hasn't been imprisoned. I think for me, one of the greatest historical references to this is found in the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 1. We see when Babylon, being one of the first world ruling empires, rose, and in the time of Nebuchadnezzar, they went and they conquered Judah, and they took the intelligentsia from Judah back to Babylon to serve the interests of the empire. And one of the first things they went about to do is a three-pronged methodology of colonization. Number one, they changed their names. Today, Pastor Araba, myself, we've been around the house of God for years, and I'm sure it's possible that, he maybe came up in Sunday school. I encountered Sunday school at some point as a little child going to the Anglican Church in Barbados, and you hear all of these stories. And I can guarantee you that if I were to come on here right now and say to you, I want to teach you today a story about three guys. Their names are Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You're going to be like, so who are they? But if I say we're talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, everybody knows who we're talking about. But that's not their original names. That's their Babylonian names. And there's so much that goes into a name, because a name is supposed to speak and denote character, purpose, and destiny. In the Bible, when people were named, even today in Africa, in order to keep the society embedded and interconnected, you will find that many times a girl will be named after her grandmother, or a boy will bear the grandfather's name to carry on that lineage. And so there was always purpose in naming people in the Eastern world, in the Oriental world, as opposed to the Occidental world. Many times in the West, we give a name because we think it sounds nice, but there's no real purpose behind it. In the Eastern world, there's an understanding that a name denotes purpose, destiny, character. So that was one of the things, one of the first things, in order to strip them of an identification with their own culture, they renamed them. They gave them Babylonian names. Then, of course, it says they went about now to teach them the tongue and the learning of the Babylonians. Well, this has happened in history for years and years, but we never stopped to really think about the impact over a certain amount of generations on that, because a part of a people's purpose and destiny in the world also is wrapped up in language. I mean, let's face it, language is how we communicate. I'm speaking to you in a language right now. Hopefully, those who are listening to me are English. Else I would not be able to communicate to you the concepts of my heart. So language is a very, very intrinsic part of, a people's culture, a people's destiny and purpose in the world. But just to show you what can happen, it doesn't matter when your mind is colonized. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. You are still thinking out of the agenda of someone else, which means, in fact, that your purpose and your destiny is being neglected. It is being put by the wayside. And so when we look at the issue of Africa and Africans in the diaspora and the Atlantic slave trade and all of this, it took me a while to really understand that there was a true worth, not only a worth in us as a people of color or Black people in the world, but to know that we actually have something that can impact the rest of the world, including Europe, for something positive that will bring about a positive outcome. And more so, God took me on a journey, and it began for me around the late 80s. But by 1990, I went to bed one night, and for whatever reason, God chooses to deal with me a lot like this. I have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of visionary type of insights. I didn't ask God to wire me that way, but that's what he chose. So one night I go to my bed and I'm having a vision. In the vision, I see that I've written a manuscript and it's entitled The Destiny of the Black Race. The Destiny of the Black Race. Of course, by this time, I am a very diligent Bible scholar. So I'm having this dream, and I won't go into all the details of the dream. The dream was so impactful that I literally got up and sat on the edge of my bed for about the next 45 minutes, asking God, is this literal? Is this metaphorical? Do you want me to do this? I was scheduled to speak in the Kingdom of Swaziland. 2 months later, I had a schedule already set by the time I received this dream. So I'm traveling on my way from Nairobi, Kenya. I get into a place of intimate prayer with God on the plane from Nairobi to what was then called the Jan Smuts Airport to cross over into Swaziland, from South Africa. And I'm praying, I'm saying, God, what do you want me to speak to the Swazi people this year? Because I had been instrumental in planting a local church in the Kingdom of Swaziland. And I'm like, God, what do you want me to say to the Swazi people this year? And I felt the inspiration say, teach them the biblical destiny of the Black race. And so I went. And for 4 days, I taught on the subject of racial reconciliation and the destiny of what I call spiritual Ethiopia, okay? Ethiopia being connected back to the ancient Cushite and Nubian peoples of the ancient world as even outlined in scripture. So I went and I taught this for 4 days. By the time I got through at the end of the conference, I had ambassadors and I had dignitaries of the nation of the Kingdom of Swaziland coming to me, and they're saying to me, Apostle, is this material in print? Is this documented? They said the leaders of Africa need this. We need it in the private sector, we need it in the church, and we need it in government. Is this documented? I said, no, but I am on my way home to do it because to me, it was a confirmation of my dream. So I went back to Toronto, came back to Toronto, and for 1 year, I wrote this book entitled The Destiny of the Black Race, edited, re-edited. I had a really wonderful team that helped, to make sure that everything was done professionally and so on and so forth as I cranked out the material and research and all of that. And I would say to you that what makes this book unique from a host of African heritage books that began to really come on the scene during that particular time, as again, people of African diaspora, be there, Africans who came for economic opportunities, or Caribbean people, or whatever that, were brought to the West, or Africans of the diaspora through the slave trade in America, because the struggle of Blacks coming out of slavery, coming through Jim Crow era, and all of that stuff. Getting to realize, at that time that there was this great thrust, a great push happening where people wanted to now understand or re-understand their roots in Africa. We were living out of Europeanism and being told for so many years that we were not really worth anything. We were third class, third world, all the rest of it. And so we found ourselves going through that and wanting to reconnect, to understand who we were. What is my purpose in the world at that point in time? So what makes my book unique is that the Bible is my #1 source book for African history, African contemporary socialization and purpose, and may I go even a step further, for Africans' prophetic destiny in the world. Why are we here? Who are we? So when I began this book, all of a sudden, I found myself getting thrust into a series of dreams when I would go to bed, and I will only share one more of them with you right now. So I went to bed one night as I'm in the midst of writing and giving birth to this subject material. I went to bed, and all of a sudden one night, I find myself, I'm standing in the Garden of Eden. I'm standing in Eden before the garden was the garden. The garden is about to be populated, so to speak. And I'm standing there, and the Spirit of God spoke to me, and he said these words. He said, the devil knew the purpose for the Black race before you were ever created. The devil knew the purpose for the black race before you were ever created. Okay, so are you telling me that there was a purpose that heaven already outlined for people who are called blacks in the world before we were created? Are you telling me that before there was ever such a person as Adam the male and Adam the female here in Africa called Eve after the fall, the Bible says in Genesis 5, and he called their name Adam. Adam ultimately, for the first time, saw a distinction between him and his wife, and he called her name Eve. That was not the name that they were given in the beginning. Genesis 5, verse 1 through about verse 3. These are the generations of Adam in the day in which God created him, male and female created he them, and called their name Adam. All right, moving right along. So at that point in time, you're trying to tell me that before there was this entity called Adam, the male, and then the female, that there was a purpose already revealed for a race of people who were to come out of that people. God continues and he says this to me. He said the devil knew the purpose for the black race before you were created. Then he says, and he fears you. Why would the devil fear some African people? Black people who all over the world have been treated so poorly over the past couple of thousand years. Why? He says, because in the day of the intensification of spiritual warfare, God says, I will call for the thick incense of praise, worship, and intercession, and Africa will rise to provide prayer cover for the move of my spirit among the nations. Now, if you understood what I just said, you would now understand why it is that over all these years, blacks have, if you believe that there is a world beyond the one we can see with our five natural senses or communicate with by our five natural senses, if you can believe that there is a world beyond that, that there is actually a cosmic dimension, that there is a spiritual world, that there is a battle that happens there, then you will understand why blacks have gone through slavery, why apartheid, why the colonization of black people around the world, and the miseducation that now today has got us even agreeing with terminologies like Nigeria is a third world nation, or Ghana, or Ethiopia, or Kenya, or Barbados, or Jamaica, or whatever. We actually have agreed to and bought into this Babylonianish kind of narrative that is, and the reason I say Babylon, not because we're dealing with ancient Babylon in our times, but the philosophies that were born there are still seeking to control the world and thus control the narrative. And so we have bought into, and we have even agreed in our thoughts and in our words that we are a third world people. But yes, history shows something totally different. History shows Africa as the first world, first in technologies, first in sciences, first in mathematics, first in medicine. We now live in a world where the Grecian Empire of over 2,000 years ago, with their pantheon of gods and that whole culture was adopted by the rest of the Europeans now and brought to the world. And we are now taught, and we have come to believe that, for example, Pythagoras, they said Pythagoras is the father of mathematics, when the Sumerians were giving math to the world almost 3,000 years before there was a Pythagoras. Or, for example, we are told that Hippocrates is the father of medicine, and doctors today, not only in the Western world, but around the world, before they can actually be fully licensed, they take what is called the Hippocratic Oath, coming from the name Hippocrates, because Hippocrates is the father of medicine. Well, guess what? About 1,500 years after the Sumerians, it was Egypt that was really giving, when Egypt was the dominant empire of that world, of that area, it was Egypt that was giving to us medicines and, so on and so forth, literal technologies and breakthroughs and so on. So how did we end up calling ourselves third world? How did we end up believing that because we were robbed of understanding our history and why Black History Month, thank God, that hopefully we don't just stick within the parameters of Black History Month, but when Black History Month is over, or even before it begins, that we are seeking to find out more about who we really are. And it's interesting to me because going in and out of Africa for years and then living in Africa for 7.5 years in Kenya, what I realized is that Africans on the continent are probably many cases in a worse condition than we are, because at least we can identify with a particular point of struggle and the need to break certain chains in our minds and come out of slavery. But I find that on the continent, people think with a colonial mindset because those who came in and colonized them within the parameters, they don't even know many times that there's any kind of a struggle, any kind of a war, but yet the economic fallout of that is impacting Africa in such a negative way. Africa right now, it is known, possesses 65% of the world's natural resources and raw materials, but yet Europeans are able to come in and take those raw materials, go and take it through whatever the systems of what we call value added, like cocoa, for example, coming out of Ghana and other parts of the West, or the rubber trees coming out of Ghana, Cameroon, and these places, which have made car tires and whatnot all around the world. You take a rubber tree, you add value to it by turning it into a tire, and then you come back to Africa and you sell it for so much more than the little rubber coming off the tree. So this has been the issue all along. But I know we're on the other side of having to close this down, of course, because we just have a short time to do this today. But the reason why I'm presenting this way is because I want to introduce you to the subject. I want to introduce you to a subject in the hopes that we can now begin a dialogue, because there's no way that you could ever address this in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. But what I do want to show you is that the biggest hoax that has been pulled on our minds is the fact that over the years, we came to think that somehow it was by the hand of the European that the gospel came to Africa. There's never been a more erroneous doctrine, a bigger misnomer than that. The gospel never came to Africa via the Europeans, some 2,000 years ago. And we can prove that from scripture up one side and down the other side. I could take you back to the covenants that God made with Africa during the time of Moses coming out of Egypt. We never stopped to think, that Egypt, where Moses was, how is it that Moses has the features of a European in all of our pictures? And then this Moses is growing up in the house of Pharaoh, where if you want to know what a true Egyptian looked like, these days, you would have to go down into Sudan, especially South Sudan, and down into Uganda, as that whole diaspora, when Islam began to come in into another kind of colonization began, and some people fled. But the true picture of an Egyptian of the ancient world, as they fled, you would have to find those people now in those territories. Not that there are no blacks in Egypt, but CNN will never show you. CNN will never tell you that there are blacks in Egypt. CNN will never let you know that there are actually right now large tribes of blacks, I mean dark-skinned people in Ethiopia and all these places. And you've got to wonder why excuse me, why go to such an extent to hide this truth? And then in the 1400s, when the Renaissance period began in Europe, in Florence and those places where they birthed the artists, a man who's considered a genius, and I would have to say for his contribution, I would call him a genius, Leonardo da Vinci, who gave us the Mona Lisa, and also, was involved in so many different scientific type experiments, especially with weaponry. And then, of course, there's Michelangelo, who paints the Sistine Chapel and all of that. But all of that was a part now. I don't know if they set out for this purpose, because artists many times don't tend to think like politicians. They're not, they just want to get their creativity out. But when Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, for example, he painted the Last Supper, and all of the guys around the table have European features. They look like Europeans. And then Jesus, history shows you that it was the Borgia Pope, or Pope Borgia, the first Spanish Pope that was elected Pope. His children was Cesare Borgia, Lucrezia, his sister, and he actually became a lover. Are you ready for this? To the artist Michelangelo. They actually had that kind of relationship. And so when they wanted to paint the image or the portrait of who Jesus is or what he looks like, Cesare Borgia was the model that has perpetuated this image all around the world of this is what Jesus. But have you stopped to ask yourself, how would Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or any of the European artists, how would they know what Jesus looked like? They never met Jesus. They never met anybody that met Jesus, that met somebody that knew Jesus, that knew somebody, generations going back. How would they then come up with this image? So it's been a whole other mess. But here's why I believe that God is now bringing us to that place of understanding. Because we as a people, this is what God has been showing me over the years. We as a people are more equipped to bring about racial reconciliation than any other racial strain. What has happened to us in the past can only either produce one of two things: great bitterness or great compassion. And my word to the house of God, to the body of Christ, to the church of Jesus Christ, term it however you will. God said this, listen carefully, and I will close with this. God said this. He said, the devil knew the purpose for the black race before you were created, and he fears you. Something somehow was revealed in heaven concerning blacks as a race of people. He said he fears you. Why? Because in the day of the intensification of spiritual warfare, God said, I'm going to call for the thick incense of praise, worship, and intercession. And Africa will rise to provide prayer cover for the move of my spirit among the nations. Among the nations. This is why, as I said, colonialism happened to us. It's more of a cosmic battle than we realize, or sometimes even us as certain intellectuals may even want to consider. But do you have a better reason to show me? Do you have a better reason? Fact is that we hold within our hands the power for the greatest compassion that the world has ever seen. Like I said, we could either become really, really bitter, or we could become better. And we could, from position of, just like when Christ went to the cross, the Bible said he was touched with the feeling of our infirmities. We should understand oppression better than anybody else. And it should alert us to understand that we have the greatest capacity for compassion than anybody else. I always tell people I believe that everyone should be able to identify with the cross. Why? Because everyone can identify with pain. All of us have gone through some pain, some rejection at some point. Even the Queen of England, who holds a personal purse of $22 billion and doesn't even have to spend a cent because the government still provides for the administration of Buckingham Palace as a part of their national budget. She doesn't have to spend a penny, yet she controls over $22 billion that has come from various nations. It's crazy to me that Africa has been responsible for the building of France, building of Belgium, building of Spain, building of Portugal, Britain, all of these places. They have built their economies and built their infrastructure on the backs of African resources. But I say to you, yet they have not yet even scratched the surface of the resources that are in Africa. Just the Congo itself could provide for Africa for 100 years, could supply Africa with food and all the minerals that are in just the Congo itself. And these are facts. This is reality. So let's break the chains off of our mind And once we have done that and realize how beautiful, how amazing, how important we are to God, then know that God's purpose for us as a people is to impact the world because we have the capacity for compassion like no one else. It was the love of God and the compassion of God that took Jesus to the cross. Remember, he said, no one takes my life from me. I'm going to lay it down and I will take it up again. All right. It's been an honor again, a pleasure, Pastor Gabriel, Araba, and the whole team that is putting together Black History Month in Sault Ste. Marie. God bless you all. And I think I'm going to make sure I send you all some extra warm winter coats. Big love, strong love. I am Sunstar, and I always close a broadcast with reminding everybody that I speak to everywhere. Remember that God has fashioned you for greatness. I love you. I'm Sunstar, and I'm out.
Wow.
That was powerful.
That was rich. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. You know, it's amazing how we don't really know how connected we are and how together we are. Like, God has given us a world where we should just enjoy it with love and unity and just be one.
True. So true.
Yes.
Well, maybe we should lighten the mood a little bit.
A little bit. Mm-hmm.
What should we
What are
do?
you thinking?
Dance?
Like break dance? Okay.
Maybe learn some African dances, some steps or something.
Oh, speaking of African
I heard
dance.
Chris likes to dance.
Yeah, I love it.
You like to dance? African dance?
Yes, sure.
You like shaking the waist a little bit?
I'll try.
Sure.
Well, you know what? You know one thing about African dance is this. You shake everything.
That's what I'm afraid of.
And but it's fun. That's why we don't have a lot of gyms there, because when you dance, that's it.
Right.
You know, move everything. You know what? We have a dance dance instructor in here. And I'm gonna go get Romy.
Excellent.
She loves to dance.
Yay.
And maybe she's gonna show us some moves today.
Okay.
Let me go get her. Let me go get her. Let me go get her.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, Romy. So you're going to show us some moves. Excellent.
The first one's a little bit of leg work.
All right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Left. Back. Right. And when you do it fast, kind of on your toes. Kind of rocking with it.
Okay.
And then the next one comes from next area. Okay. So you push back. And here. Back.
That's very good at it. We'll practice. But I'm not too sure about this, hey, look at this guy.
Okay.
That is gorgeous.
I just went to dress up for the dance, guys.
You certainly did.
Okay, yeah. This is how you do it in Africa, you know? Yeah?
You're looking good.
Yeah, you just, yeah. And this is, okay, so this that I'm wearing is called Agbada.
Agbada.
Can you try to say that? Agbada.
Agbada. Thank you.
Okay, so in West Africa, in the Yoruba land, that's a tribe.
Okay.
They wear agbada on very special occasions. Now you got to be rich to wear agbada because it comes very expensive, depending on the fabric that you use. This is a lace fabric, and if it's very expensive, it just speaks to the amount of wealth you have.
Sure.
And for me, I see it as a three-piece because it's got like the pants, you got the little, you know, like the
tunic.
Yeah, under it, and then this overall that you put on it as well. So
and then you got a pocket.
You got a deep pocket in here.
Yeah.
You've got to be rich to wear this. So because when you're dancing, you got to be spraying the cash. So people come there to get rich too and say, oh, let me some money, you know. So that's what it's all about.
Wow.
So this is how you celebrate. You got to be a chief, a king, or people wear it on their weddings too.
So that's like the tuxedo.
Yeah, I call it the African tuxedo.
Nice.
There you go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I like it.
I hear we have some other video of fashion.
Oh yeah. We have fashion.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of fashion, we have Tiwa D. Taylor. She's going to be showing up African fashion. Tiwa is such a talented fashion designer all the way from West Africa, Nigeria.
Right on.
Let's see what she's got.
Let's check it out.
Check it out. Sounds great.
All right. For the things we're going to do for me, everybody come follow me,
So far, it's been really fun. We were even dancing a little while ago, and I think that was really good. But honestly, I think we need some food.
Food.
Hi, my name is Matilda, and today we are going to make eforiwo, which is a vegetable soup, and it's originally from Nigeria. And I'm from Ghana, but Ghanaians also have similar thing. The only difference is we add tomatoes to ours. So that is what I'm going to share with you today. Thank you. Okay, so now the ingredients for the soup. So here we have mixed blended peppers. So this is bell peppers, onions, and Scottish bonnets. You can adjust to the pepper the way you want it. Yeah, and this is palm oil for the sauce, and we have spinach and kale. That is what we are going to use as well. And we have locust beans. This is locust beans. This is what we use to spice it up. And we have onions as well, salt, and some bouillon cubes to season it up, and also crayfish. It's sort of like shrimp powder. Yeah. And we have salted meat and fish as well. So as I said, the Ghanaian version, we will add tomatoes to it, but since we are doing the Aforiwa, the Nigerian version, we will omit the tomatoes for now. Okay, so let's get started. So we put our palm oil in. And with the Aforiwa to the vegetable soup as well, you can eat it with pounded yam or gari. They call it eba. Gari is made out of cassava. At the store, it's called yuca. So they grate it, they pull the water out, they dry it, and then they fry it as well. And I know it's a gluten-free as well too. Yeah. And then we will add our onions. And then you let your onion fry for like about a minute or two, because the onions we have here are very sweet, so if you fry it for too long, the soup will be too sweet. And then we will add our locust beans as well. And the locust beans, you don't want to fry it for a long time, else it will get burned and mess up your soup. Just fry that for just a minute or two. And then we add our crayfish. We will divide the crayfish into two. We will add the rest at the end of the as well as the crayfish, you don't want to fry it for too long, else if it gets burnt, it will mess up the taste of your soup. So we are going to add in our pepper blend. So as I said, this is a blend of bell peppers, the red one, you can use any color, the red one, and onions as well as Scottish bonnet. So if I were doing the Ghanaian one, this is when I will also add in my tomatoes as well. So at this point, we will add in our seasoning stock, which is our bouillon cubes. Allow this to fry because there's water in the pepper, so we will allow it to like simmer down, fry and simmer down for about 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. So we can add our salted meat and fish here. So at this point, you want to taste to make sure you got the perfect, the season is perfect. So now it's okay, I don't need any salt, I don't need anything. So what I'm going to do is cover this. Because I'm frying, I don't want to cover with the cover of a pan, else it will boil. So I'm using my splatter guard to cover this so that it can fry for about 10 to 15 minutes, or until the water, till the soup is all dry. So afterwards, you just add your vegetables, the kale and spinach blend. You just add it to it and taste for season or salt. If it's okay for you, fine. If not, you just add a little bit salt. And at the end, this is what you get: the beautiful pot of eforivo soup. And as I said, it goes so well with pounded yam. So I have pounded yam here, and you have your dinner or lunch ready. It's very healthy. That is one thing I love about it. It's very healthy. You have your vegetables and everything. And the funny thing and the good thing about it is that you can use a variety of vegetables. Since we don't have the right vegetables we have back home, we substitute with kale, spinach. You can use a lot of green vegetables as well at the supermarket. So here you are with your pounded yam and eforivo. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, Charlene. You provided us some really nice Canadian food.
It is.
And
It
I
is
think,
Canadian.
honestly, what we really need is some true African food.
That would be good.
African food. Let me see. African food. Let's try rice.
Okay.
Now,
Rice sounds good.
rice is something you mostly would find in an African dish. So
But this looks different than the rice that I've seen before.
yes, as you can see, it's not white.
No.
It is called jollof rice.
Jollof.
rice.
Yeah,
Jollof
jollof rice.
What makes jollof
You
rice
said
jollof?
Yeah, jollof, because you just eat it jolloфing, just like jolly. happy rice.
Happy
Okay,
rice.
It looks
so
happy.
this is jollof rice, And as we all know, we got clean hands.
Yep, we
We
washed
washed
up.
our hands.
Exactly.
Very
So this jollof rice, usually, I mean, in modern times, you use cutleries, you got spoons, you can use spoons or fork. But you know what? Today, because we're celebrating Africa, we want to do the traditional way
Okay.
Yeah.
with our hands.
Okay.
Not chopsticks, but the natural one. And you go like that, like a little bit of mouth.
Okay.
There you go. Mm. Mm, mm, mm.
Okay.
Sounds cool.
Well, it sticks together.
You say no, no. It's got my mouth full.
Mm-hmm.
Better than the spoon sometimes.
Those are really nice. Very
It's very good. It's very yummy.
Well,
I don't know. Our viewers might want to try some.
I'm sure they do, but they can't.
it tastes very jollof.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's jollof rice. So that's jollof rice. Of course, it comes with. It can come with, you know, meats or any type of meat, or even some. You can some have it with coleslaw or even salad and all that. So you have different types of jollof rice. You have the one from Ghana, from Nigeria, and from Kenya as well.
Okay.
And they look almost the same,
Right,
but they
just
taste
a
a
little
little bit
different.
different.
Spicy just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can make it spicy as much as you like. So really good food. We got fish and chicken. You know what? I'd like to mention, and that reminds me of our next guest, actually,
Okay.
from the Caribbeans.
Oh, yeah.
Usually, this is not jerk chicken. This is not jerk chicken, but they have
Caribbean
jerk chicken
chicken.
in the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Spicy.
And sweet and lovely, like it'll be delicious is what I mean.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe we should really hear from him.
Right. Our next guest is going to be Dave Monix, and he's going to tell his story. He's from the Caribbean.
Lovely.
Hi, my name is Dave Monix. I was born on a small island in the Caribbean named Trinidad. I grew up in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, better known as SVG. I immigrated to Canada in 1996, lived in Toronto for a while, and now call Sault Ste. Marie home. My wife Shauna and I have the joy and adventures of being the parents of 5 kids, all whom are different in their own ways. I'm a proud graduate of Sault College with a graphic design diploma and a sociology degree from Algoma University. I'm one of the founding members of the African Caribbean Canadian Association of Northern Ontario, better known as ACANO, and I am also an active member within the Sault Ste. Marie community, volunteering in different spaces like St. Vincent Place and others. Growing up in the Caribbean in some tough circumstances have taught me how to be strong, determined, resilient, and most importantly, resourceful. When I look at our rich history, I see and feel the struggles and pain of my ancestors. But I also see the contribution, the large contribution actually, that Black people has made and continue to make to the world in spite of all the struggles and the barriers. Some of the greatest experiences in my life, I experienced them in the zoo. And some of the worst experiences of my life, I also experienced them in Sault Ste. Marie. My kids, education, my wife are some of the joys that Sault Ste. Marie has blessed me with, and I am grateful for them. You experience challenges no matter where you are located in the world. And I can confidently say that the positive experiences here in Sault Ste. Marie have outweighed the negative experiences. For Black History Month, well, first of all, Black History Matters. I think that's important. We're in February, and that's an important reminder that Black History matters. For me, Black History Month is the opportunity and responsibility to honor and celebrate our ancestors and the heroes and their legacy. I take this responsibility seriously because so many people have made the ultimate sacrifice, given their life in many cases, for me to be here. And so I take that responsibility absolutely seriously. When I think of the inhumane acts of slavery throughout the world and cultural genocide of our people because of the color of their skin, when I think of systematic racism and all the different oppression that is present, whether past or present, and the resilience that Black people, that Black communities have demonstrated every time, it makes me proud to be Black. I consciously choose to feel a sense of great pride, confidence, and power as a person of African descent. This allows me to function from a place of confidence and power and not victimhood. My life experience have taught me that no matter what your life challenges, conditions, or circumstances, you never lose the power to choose. So start making choices that move you. Start making healthy choices that move you in the directions of your dreams. This is Dave Monix. Follow your joy. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dave. It's nice to know that the Sioux is really a very welcoming place.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I'm happy to be here with my friends. Chris, it's nice to have you here, you know?
Good to be here with you.
And Charlene, like doing this together is just amazing.
It has been.
enjoyed
It has been.
Now, what a great experience, you know, that we can share community together here in the Sioux. What a wonderful, wonderful experience and an opportunity that we've been given, you know. And Chris, what's your story? Like, why are you even doing this?
Well, you know, I've got this Nigerian shirt because I'm not from Nigeria at all. Gabriel actually gave me this shirt, which I really appreciate. So my earliest connection to anything African culture, African and Black history was actually through music. So I studied ethnomusicology years ago, and I always felt, as I was learning about different kinds of music, I kept being drawn to African music and actually Caribbean music too. And so it was kind of through that I started to get a sense of African culture. And then as I was, you know, traveling and stuff, meeting people with African roots. And I don't personally have, as far as I know anyway, any ethnic Black roots, African roots, anything like that. However, on my wife's side, she does actually have some Black history. It's like a significant part of their background. So that's been really meaningful. But I think when it really comes down to it, like, we just really love each other. We believe in the beauty of unity and cultural diversity, right? And just loving each other within that.
Awesome. I mean, we're one.
Yeah.
We're one. We're people. We're all children of God, you know?
Yeah.
And Charlene, what's your story? By the way, you look good in this, though.
Well, thank you very much. I was told that my great-great-great-great-grandmother was Black. She lived in Vermont, married James Nelson in 1808, and died somewhere before 1820, and then he moved up into Canada, and the rest of my family lived in Canada after that. So we have Black roots. So I think it's interesting to be proud of that, as well as obviously the Scottish and Irish and that I have that are pretty obvious.
Wow. Wow.
So Black History Month to me is important because it is part of who I am as well.
It is. And you know, for me, I have always loved to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from West Africa, Nigeria, and I'm from the Yoruba tribe.
Right.
There are many tribes in Nigeria alone, not to speak of the rest of Africa. So there are tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
But Yoruba is what I speak, and like you, we're gonna see some people try to speak Yoruba today, you know, and because like when you say thank you, we say eshe or oshe. Or adupe, that is I'm full of thanks, you know, and we're going to see some people try to say that today. But you know, one other thing is we love people. We like to say hi. Nigeria is one of the very friendly, almost like the Sioux, you know, very friendly people, and we love to party. We love to party, Miliki, you know, Aria, Uambe, you know, that's what we call it, you know, and we just like to get there with a lot of food, with rice and all sorts, and in your, like, it's a lot. And of course, we actually, like, we should, like, some African food, which we're gonna throw in there somewhere, you know, in this show. And you know, one other thing is about being very friendly. We like to say hi.
How do you guys greet each other?
Exactly. And that's where I was going, because if, like, for example, how you say hi, hello.
Yeah, in Canada, we're like, hey, how's it going?
Hi, hello. You know what? We are pretty, like, out with it. We say, hey, my brother, how are you? You know, like, that's how we get along. We hug each other, we go, you know, hey, how are you? You know, that kind of thing.
That would be far too bad. I remember my son, teenager, seeing a friend on the street, and I think he nodded. Maybe. Like,
that was like a little wink, and that's it. That's high.
Yeah, that was high. That was good enough. You didn't want to be too demonstrative.
No. Like, you know, it's even funny that when friends come, like when you meet your buddies and everybody come to the house, we'll be the volume of the voice is so loud, the whole house is beaming, everybody is talking their voices, and you think there's a fight going on in there.
Oh, that would be very different from some of my family's parties.
Exactly. It's fun.
It's so much difference from one culture to another, right?
Yes. And you know what?
I would find some of ours very quiet.
Yes. It's amazing that we are being able to do this together because we are one family. The Sioux is such a fantastic place that has given us this opportunity to be able to share with you the togetherness, the unity that we enjoy here in this city.
So your wife has another song, right?
Oh, yes.
True.
Let's go to Timmy.
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. No one wants your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Hide away, they say. No one will love you as you are. But won't let out. Gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is Bruce, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I'll make no apologies, this is me.
This is me. I mean,
It was a beautiful song.
It was beautiful, and Tenny did a good job of that as well. Well, that's really good.
I love the diversity within that
exactly
that video as well.
You know, just people coming to having confidence in themselves and not letting anything hold them back. Living the life. And just making the best of their lives. That's really awesome.
Yes.
You know what? And really, that is really part of our message today, that you should have confidence in yourself, and most importantly, love your neighbor as yourself.
That's right.
As we've been able to share togetherness, love. The Black History Month is really about that unity, the love that we can share as a community, because there's really no difference between us.
Exactly. Thank you for this time that we
thanks a
could
lot.
share together.
It's been fun.
Well, thank you. Well, I hope we hope that you enjoyed this, and thank you for being here with us. Have a wonderful time.
Everybody, come on. La run, bukun yen, dupe o.
I should just do it. So I'm saying which now? What am I saying?
Ọlọ́run abùkún yín, adúpẹ́ o.
Okay. Ọlọ́run abùkún yín, adúpẹ́ o.
Love it.
Can I say it? Ọlọ́run abùkún yín, adúpẹ́ o.
Mangu aku bariki. Good? One more time. Aku mangu bariki. Oh no, it's Mangu aku bariki. Yeah. Mangu aku bariki.